o'clock. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Agenda review and disposition.
I'm all set, Madam Chair.
We have the minutes of the public and non-public session from November 7th. Any additions, corrections? They stand approved as written. Are the students here for civics?
Yes.
Welcome. Ben, student report, please.
Alrighty. Well, my first is I'd like to introduce, we have a few kids coming in today from our Civics 3 class. They're here to work on you guys' civics project. Yeah. You guys had to come to a town meeting. So, wanted to welcome you guys. And then I just have a few past things and a few updates for upcoming until we meet again. So, on Wednesday, the 8th of November, there was an NHTI trip and a math meet. Both went very well. On November 10th through the 12th, so Veterans Day weekend, the all-school, or the fall musical was this week, or that weekend, and we did You're in Town the musical. I'm wearing my shirt tonight, and that went very well. On the 12th, we also hosted the senior luncheon. A lot of them came afterwards to the show, and it went very well. People were very happy with it. The cast and crew were both very excited, so we were very happy about that. On November 11th, there was a Quiz Bowl meet at Harvard. And students were very excited. They got to travel down to Harvard and be able to compete in Quiz Bowl. This is an event they've been doing for a few years, so one of the big things they are always excited about. On November 14th was the open house. We had a lot of parents show up, so that was good. On November 15th, we had the Elks Hoop Shoot-Off. When I walked by the gymnasium, there was a big group of kids and a bunch of people on the bleachers cheering on the kids who were partaking in the shoot-off, so they were all very happy, and I guess that went over well. On November 17th, there was a college visit to Keene State College. On November 18th was the craft fair. NHS and I think NTHS were both in attendance to help volunteer and run it, and from what I hear, it went well. So people were excited about that. Kids also regarding NHS and NTHS. Yesterday, juniors and seniors who are eligible to apply for NHS received their letters to do so, and their application and all that fun stuff. And today, the NTHS applications and letters came out. And that was during break in the auditorium. Let's see, tomorrow. So I guess these are now my updates coming up for the next month. Oh, right, thank you. This last weekend, we had our football championship. So I'm sure many of you heard. I couldn't forget that. Thank you, Ms. Prescott. We played Bow, and we won. Final score was 27-8, I believe. So there were a lot of kids that were very happy about that. The football team got a big welcome from the Plymouth Fire Department and Police Department, so they were all very happy, and you could see a lot of smiling faces on the boys or faces of the boys who were playing and of the fans who came out to watch. So we were all very excited, and this will be our second year in a row against Bow where we've beaten them. So we were very happy about that. And that'll bring a close to their football season, and no more pep band at the school. So you guys won't be hearing about that anytime soon. So these coming updates on November 22nd, so tomorrow is a half day of school as part of the Thanksgiving break. On the 23rd and the 24th, we also have no school. So students are looking forward to eat lots of food and to get out of school and to try and get caught up on all their homework. So at least that's what I'm excited for. So on December 1st, we have a Quiz Bowl competition in Burlington. So the kids are looking forward to that. That's a late night competition, but they always have lots of fun on that trip. winter sports are also somewhat starting next week and the week after, and I think the official start was last week on the 27th, but their practices are just starting to pick up now because, you know, for like skiing and stuff, you need snow to start getting ready for your ski team. So I know at least Nordic next week is having 2 optional practices, and then the week after they're going to start picking up, I believe, every day. But students are very excited about that. On December 2nd is the winter parade. Just going downtown, we have our band, our jazz band, and our students who are in integrated music will all be marching in the parade, and that'll make up, I believe, 60, 90. I think we'll have about 90 kids if we have full attendance, which
Wow.
I don't believe will happen, but we have about 90 to 100 kids in the band, so that's what we would be looking at in the parade. So we're very excited about that. It was a fun trip because everyone loves going out and watching the fireworks and going to the Christmas, and we have a big like get together on that day before outside of school. But so the band is very excited about that. Also on that day, SATs are being administered to kids who want to take those. On December 6th is a field trip to the Boston Museum of Science. On November 9th is another Quiz Bowl competition. This one will be hosted by Merrimack Valley, and it's also an ACT test date. On December 11th, progress reports will close, and 2 days after, so that's Friday, those progress reports will be accessible through Power School. And just a little update on Power School. I meant to talk about this at my last update, but we had quite a few things on that, so I wanted to mention it tonight. Kids are really enjoying Power School. And there's an app that goes along with Power School, so it's a lot easier for kids to check their grades, and parents like it too, is what I've been told. So they're all loving that system, and they were glad we did the switch. That was just a little side note. On December 13th, we will be hosting a math meet here at PBRSB. And finally, on December 19th is the winter concert. And I believe our snow date for that is the day after, so the 20th.
Thank you, Ben. Mr. Halloran.
Yes, Madam Chair. I just want to walk through the last tax rate for your district was set the other day. And I just want to walk through the assessment sheet so that you can understand the impact of the high school and the local tax rate. The top section is the ADMs. That's the average daily membership from each of the communities over 3 years. And as you know, you then take the 3-year total and average it. And 28.5% of the kids come from Plymouth, 20% come from Campton, and you can read the rest of the chart. Down, the next column down, the other 50% of our equation is equalized valuation. And you take the value of the community, the net valuation of the community, equalized, and you take the 3-year average of that, and you can see the value of property in the communities. And that the leader is Holderness at 30.36%, and then Plymouth at 17.97%. Campton close behind, but you can see the property impact of equalized valuation. So you break our total assessment together. We're going to raise $12,398,000 in property taxes, and you break it up 50% on ADM and 50% on equalized valuation. And that's a formula that is voted on by the district. So you go down underneath and you look at 16-17 versus 17-18, and you can see that we raised just a little bit over 3% in assessment. $362,159 was raised above and beyond the previous year. Is everybody with me on that? And so, and you can see by town, the biggest increase was Thornton at $123,900. Rumney raised an extra $10,513. and then Plymouth at an extra $23,602. And we'll look at the Plymouth phenomenon when we go down to the next column. That's the net valuation is there, and that's different from the equalized valuation. So that's the net valuation. That's the actual amount of property, land and buildings in the community that is taxable. Then you take the Pemmy-Baker assessment for next year, and then you subtract education adequacy. That's aid from the state. As you can see, Holderness has none, and it runs as high as Plymouth getting $901,000. So if you follow Plymouth out a little bit, you understand that they are that the assessment at the high school was only $23,602 more than last year. That's hardly a major impact on the tax rate. Until you get to the point where the state then applies its revenues, and with the state aid cut, that $23,000 then turns into a 37-cent tax increase because of the cut in state aid. That figure for Plymouth used to be well over $1 million, and now it's $900,000. If you look at Wentworth, we're asking for an extra $28,000, and when you bring it down, Wentworth used to get about $170,000, and you can see they're getting $132,000, which drives it up, and so their rate went up 39 cents. So the issue, and had an opportunity to go through this with the Plymouth Selectmen and the Budget Committee, the appropriation side of the budget is a 3% increase. The revenue side is what drove the tax increases. Direct state aid from the state. So what we have to do is, when we look at appropriations, you have to say to yourselves, all right, we know that there's revenue shortfalls, and you have to apply that theory to it. Now, historically, we've looked at appropriations relatively independent of local tax rates. Until then, we applied the equalized valuation. I know it's hard to do, but that's historically what we've done. But you can't help but think of the state aid cuts that are in some of these communities. So that's the impact of only the high school on the tax bills locally. Maureen?
Question. Do you have a percentage amount for the decrease in the revenue from the state for the Pemmy?
It was around, I think it was somewhere around, for you, I think it was somewhere around 10%. It was
Okay.
100,000, a little over $100,000.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, that's my report. Everything else is contained in the committee reports.
All right, thank you. Facilities.
Okay, so facilities met last night. We approved the minutes of October 16th. We had a survey update on the neighboring property. Mr. Hallerman reported that the survey of the property has been requested to identify the usable level land mass and the value of having water and sewer right away for cross-country and other sports. The CTE project update, Mr. Halloran reported that Mr. Francis is going through the drawings to weed out what we don't need. This process means that the project will probably begin more in April instead of February. Mr. Halloran's meeting with the architects, Jeff Downing and Mr. Francis, to look at the project tomorrow afternoon at 2:30. And they'll be doing a walkthrough next week with the subcontractors. Budget impact items, Mr. Allen reported 2 items that will impact the budget. First, Park and Rec tractor field mower needs to be replaced with a new tractor, just out of age, and needing the cost maintenance is getting higher. That would be shared cost with Plymouth Elementary School with a 65-35 split of approximately $25,000. The second impact item was $75,000 in interest to be paid between July 1st of 18 and June 30th of 19. There is no other business. Our future meeting is December 18th. We adjourned at 5:11.
Thank you. Policy and budget?
Yes, Madam Chairperson. The meeting immediately following the facilities. We approved the minutes. With a slight amendment, paragraph Roman numeral V. We had a memorandum of understanding between the Ashland School District and the Fenby School District. We've deferred that until December or January, depending on how we make out with the budget discussions. We just had a budget timeline handed out, and I think all of you have seen that in your packet. I brought up the fact that Nick McNamely, who's a graduate of this school, has now graduated from law school, is working at the University of Miami, and there was an article in a recent Mile Weekly on a Thurgood Marshall movie, and I just wanted the school committee to know that Nick, who had been a member of our board, and he was a student here, I think 2 years, at least one, maybe 2 years.
2 years, I think.
Had successfully passed the bar here in New Hampshire, and I assume in Florida, and is doing quite well working for the University of Miami. We went in a non-public session for support staff negotiations. No action was taken. We came out of non-public at 5:28 and respectfully submitted.
Thank you. Program and staffing.
Yes, we met last night. We approved the minutes from October 16th. There was a proposal brought forward from the PRHS Interact Club. The club has been meeting for about a month with Mr. Sutherland as an advisor. And this is an offshoot of the Rotary. It's a smaller, younger version of the Rotary, Mr. Halloran said, and they would be doing service projects and fundraising and a number of proposed events that were brought forward. The committee would like Mr. Halloran to bring Mr. Sutherland to the next committee meeting for further discussions, and possibly Mr. Bill Clark from the Rotary. The draft of a memo of understanding for the CTE Center Communications and Media Studies Department program. This was an agreement that we're looking at, or a possible agreement with PSU, and that will be discussed, deferred to December or January. And we went into non-public for co-curricular nominations, volunteers, support staff nominations, and then we adjourned.
Melinda, did you want to do the SCC?
Yeah,
Thank
we
you.
haven't met since Barb did the update last time. We're meeting Monday, December 4th. It's our next meeting.
Discussion items.
You want me to take that budget draft?
Go for it on budget, yeah.
Those of you who were here last night got copies of the budget, as well as copies of the revenue sheet, and an explanation of the analysis of the budget and its implications, and removal of one-time items. So, discussion ensued, and with respect to class size and the impact it might have on faculty positions, and you were handed tonight a master file, it's called, as of the 21st of November, with all of the teachers, their courses, the number of students, and the maximum number of students that we prefer, or I don't think it,
It's preference.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
There's
a
no,
local preference.
Okay. I don't know if any of you had a chance to go through that, but it will certainly have an impact. And we can do the budget first and then come back to this, but of course, we do have one rule that we don't have any courses with fewer than 10 students. We've waived that on occasion, particularly when we get into advanced French. There's 10 students in French 5 or something like that, or 9 or 8. But it is something we go through every year, usually with Bruce, who's most familiar with it and most familiar with the needs of the students. Mark may be
Yeah. If you look at some of those single digits, they're at the 2 level, and we found that those kids are most successful and with much smaller class sizes and individual attention by the teacher. And we have an eye toward that, particularly toward the graduation percentages. Kids are just do much better in that situation. Also, as Mr. Dietrich pointed out, you'll see a couple of the upper level, level 5 or level 4 world language classes, maybe in the single digit. But outside, but the level 2s in language arts and in math, you'll see a couple single digit numbers, and science. But basically, all of those other classes are well above the 10, and they teeter on some of the max. And again, scheduling is a unique art, because even when you are full, you're at 88%, because of schedules and things like that. It's just really hard to get everybody in to a class, so that every class has 24 at every period in every room. It's just really hard to do that. So I think we do a pretty good job in maximizing our efficiency with scheduling.
Does anyone have any questions about any individual courses? Mark, I would just like a little explanation. Health Science 1 has 2 sections, 18 and 16.
Right.
Health Science 2 has only 7 students. Are these the kids that are going on to America?
Yes.
So you can take the first level course without committing yourself to that?
Right.
All right.
It's a major step to move from 1 to 2. It's night work. It's a major step, and some kids, after going through 1, make a determination that may not be the career field that they want to go into. So historically, that as Mr. Dietrich pointed out, that historically is 7, 8, 9, sometimes 10 on a yield out of perhaps 24 the previous year, 30, somewhere around there.
Anyone else? Yes.
Yeah, Mark, with the intro to physics and intro to chem classes.
Right.
So I see Mrs. Ahern has
Yes.
7 and then 8 and then 15 in hers, and
Right.
and 5, and
Yes.
Mrs. Day has 10 and 15.
Yep.
How did that get?
Those are 2 levels. Those are kids that need a science credit, and also it's just juggling those. It's just juggling schedules, and it's a lot more hands-on.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
a lot more lab work.
Anyone else? Marketing 3, John Spear, has only 5 students, but it has a maximum of 5. Why is that?
That's a sort of an independent study. We have marketing 1 and 2, junior and senior year, and this is for kids who go above and beyond.
And that's a .2 of John's.
No, that's above and beyond. He just he works with those kids as they have individual contracts.
Okay. So are you telling us overall that
There's no one, when you deal with the flex that we have, there's no one department that has a full person flex. There is some flex. If you look at the departments as a whole, there may be a 0.2 in this department. There may be a 0.2 in that department. But if you were to non-renew someone and not bring them back or riff them, we would probably have a piecemeal contract to bring them back at such and such percent. So what historically the board and the administration have done is keep the whole piece and then lower class sizes across the board.
I think that's probably been true in the last bunch of these I've done with you, but this year seems to present some unique challenges, as you mentioned yesterday, and I'm wondering if there's any way we could do, pick anybody, but do a 0.8 in the person's field of study and maybe find a 0.2 for them in another place, so that we might accrue one whole person out of the entire faculty, which would save us anywhere from $60,000 to $80,000.
We can take a look. Yeah.
I hate to be, do we have any retirements this year?
No.
Ross, what's the current ruling on certification? Having people teach outside their area of certification?
We have a little flex. We have a little flux. It's sort of gone back to No Child Left Behind, gone by the boards.
Right.
It's sort of gone back to the old rule of the majority of your time has to be spent in your certified area, and then the superintendent has the flexibility to look at a transcript and say, are they able academically to teach in another area? So that's where we are. But
Might that be one thing we take into consideration to address Ross's?
It can be. It's hard to find those folks that took, say, social studies as a major and then also had a minor in English or a double major. It's hard. We have that at the elementary level, but
Again, I'm thinking of, let's say, for example, physics. If someone is certified in physics, they probably have the skill set and aptitude
Right.
to be strong in math.
Right.
So they might be able to pick up one or two sections of math.
Exactly.
Yeah, kind of like.
Exactly. Yeah. We aren't that fortunate in science. We have a lot of people with the same certifications.
Right, yeah.
And then we have an old house plan. Do you remember the house plans that were our grandfather? That's how we're covering physics. So, but your point's well taken. We can take a look at that.
Anybody else on staff and class size and the like? I know some of them may appear to be high to you, but frankly, based upon other schools that I'm sure Phil and Mark know better than I, but there are other schools where these numbers would be considered a walk in the park for class size. And I don't want to see us change dramatically, but I think if we had to, we could, and which is why we were considering the Waterville issue, is that we could absorb it, but it's... anything else on this? All right, that takes us to the budget, and I hope you've had enough time to go over it and at least start to digest it. Some of you weren't at the meeting last night, so you may not have gotten your budgets last night, but any places, Mark, that you would suggest we could start looking, or is it just...
Well, there are things in here, quite frankly, that Bruce and I didn't thoroughly discuss, and I said, well, we're going to deliver this budget, and it means that we'll continue to have conversations, and obviously conversations with the board. So there are some areas that Bruce and I have had conversations about, and the area of on line 18, general repairs and maintenance. We can take a bigger look in there. Last year, we generally, it's about $40,000 a year to keep things up on the academic side. We can take a look at that number. The other areas, line 38 is the general supplies. Again, when you look at our history, is right around that mark. It doesn't mean that we can't, for a year, take a good look in the closets and see what's in there. Had an old principal years and years ago that put a 0 in that line item, made us all bring everything in our closets down to the cafeteria, put them on tables, and then told the whole faculty, all right, go ahead and shop and take your stuff. And he pulled it off. There was enough for the year. So we won't be that dramatic, but we certainly can look at that number. Page 2 has been pretty picked over. The next line we get to, quite frankly, is line 109 and general technology at $100,000. So I do know that Lynn Sanborn's program needs to be upgraded, and they'll be going into a new room, but doesn't mean we can't look at that number. So those are within the 1100 account, quite frankly. Once you leave personnel, those are the 3 lines that Bruce and I could walk back through.
Can I just ask a general question?
Sure.
Can you just remind me, with the building project, new equipment, is that included in the?
Some. It's a
Okay.
combination of them. It's a good question, and we just were talking with the architect about that because there was a lot of new equipment called for, and we are going to salvage, recondition, and fix a lot of things that we currently have to go back into the culinary kitchen, the general marketing area, autos. There are lots of things that just need to be polished up, tuned up. And then there are some things we have to purchase, but we've really had a good run at that list. So I think folks in the community would be pleased that the things that we're doing and taking a look at, keeping, saving. It's not a wholesale, throw it all out and bring in a new place.
Okay.
What's 144 on 144?
That is if we have aides who are instructional, and we have aides who are special ed, and so and some. I'm on the right. Go ahead, Janice.
Yes, and some of them have like .2s of teaching positions.
Right.
So that's considered a teacher retirement, and then
Yeah.
the portion is a non-teacher retirement.
Exactly.
Even though they're aides.
Yeah, but there's a different percentage for faculty versus aides. Remember, there used to be a state supplement for that. So it's a different percentage.
Mark, may I, Mr. Beechman?
Yes.
139, initially I thought that would be level funded due to negotiations, but it actually shows a decrease. Is that fewer people?
Just some change in personnel.
Okay.
Just a reminder, again, not that you need it, but we were very pleased with the contract we negotiated with the faculty last year. It still represents over $200,000 on the 110 line, 1100 line, sorry. And then, of course, it reflects down through the budget in the FICA, retirement, and other issues. So, again, anything that we can do in that line would be, have a significant bearing very quickly on appropriations. Okay, so we're all done with the regular education section.
Hold on, there was one thing I had with regular ed. Line 76, the Spanish workbooks.
Right.
So I see that amount in 2016-17, but not before that. What's happening with that?
I quite frankly would make them squeeze the money out of other parts of the budget. if they wanted workbooks. But it's clear that the program is most successful when they have the work. We've always gotten the workbooks.
Oh, okay, all right.
But there's not a ton of play in this budget, and so
Okay.
we actually put it in.
And, that's cyclical, right? Or is it?
No, it's annual.
Annual.
So it means that this year, we've scrounged around, the kids have their workbooks, we've just gotten money from other areas.
Okay, all right. I wouldn't want for them, if this is instructionally necessary, I wouldn't want to take it
No,
out. but-
it's me saying, there's plenty of money in that account, the line stays the same, we'll find the money for the books.
Okay.
I don't have that amount of confidence in this new budget.
Okay, and another question on line 109 for new equipment for general and tech.
Right.
Oh, you said that one.
Yeah, that was, most of it's earmarked for Lynn Sanborn's program.
Okay.
I'll
yeah.
work with Randy on, I know that Lena and Lynn both need new technology, and I have to look at the Perkins grant to see how much I can grab of the Perkins grant for that.
Okay.
Okay, moving on. Special education. Not much we can do there?
Yeah, I would just highlight for you the change that in philosophy, or the change in resources. If you look at tuition, line 169, you can see that in 16-17, that tuition line is $1.6 million. And if you look at us this year, it's $695,000. But you need to add a number to that. If you go up to line 164, it's $334,000. Those are folks that we hire from the private sector as consultants to come in and manage the programs of the kids. So rather than sending kids to placements, the kids are living at home. They're here with their peers, and their programs are here in the building. And it's a more cost-effective way of doing business. It's a more humane way of doing business, and it's just much better for everybody. And so we're pretty pleased with that. Those are mostly contracts with Bill White's company for consultants.
Why was that something?
So the real number is
164.
a million and change.
Right.
But it's still lower than the
0.6.
1,642,
Yeah.
when you had only $80,000 to purchase services. Gotcha.
Yep.
That figure 695 anticipates all the 8th graders coming in as freshmen?
Oh, yes. Yep.
But of course, we always get hit
Sure.
with one we weren't planning on, or two.
2, 3. You should be very proud of your program. And people tell us as they move in, you've got a great school. And I thank them very much.
And there is no catastrophic aid anymore?
Well, there is. And if you look on your revenue sheet, we're expecting $300,000. But the catastrophic aid is historically, it was supposed to be 100%, everything above 3.5 times the state average tuition. That now is capped and is probably dancing somewhere between 50 and 65% instead of 100%.
Yes, Phil?
If I remember correctly, we have an article that passes on the warrant each year to allow the district to borrow
Yes.
in anticipation of payment from the state.
Right.
Would that, I don't know if you've ever done it,
Never had to.
but it can be for tuition.
Mhm.
Does it have to be unanticipated, students coming? It has to be unanticipated.
It's right in the
So
warrant
if we were
article.
to get a new student that required an out-of-district placement, you could borrow and wouldn't have to expend it, but you can't, I don't know, that would help you with your budgeting.
No, the only extra, we have a ghost in there that's
Okay.
it's the
Yeah.
cost of a court order. It's the
Okay.
lowest possible
Okay.
payment.
All right.
That's as much flex as I...
And we don't have a special ed contingency fund.
No, we don't. We do have a retained fund that Mr. Deachman talked about earlier that's there, that could function after a public hearing, could function in that. In fact, it's got a little more flex than a capital reserve account.
Okay, any other questions on special ed? No changes on the, $100,000 on the aides. There must be a few more aides.
Yes, to go along with a few more kids.
Okay.
Right.
And that's the major portion of
Right.
the...
If we had higher tuition number, that would be a lower aid number.
Aids are less expensive.
Yes, a lot. Because what you're paying for at the tuition level is cost of an aid plus a markup.
What is the new marketing workshop travel 6625?
That would be the travel for the DECA conference. It's been one of those things that, again, we have squeezed out of field trips in other areas, so it's been reassigned to where it's really been spent. Kids are extremely successful.
Any more on page 5? Okay, we're in the applied technology, audiovisual textbooks, et cetera. I assume all of these are cyclical, these textbooks and things? Or do we have some change in the curriculum that's required?
No, they're replacement of in areas particularly health OC can be books. Also, auto tech and some culinary arts. They can be replacement books. We go online as much as we can with the curriculums, but there are some curriculums that are just, they're not online.
Nothing terribly significant on that page. Technology. Co-curricular. Are we reaching a point where we need to seriously consider how many athletic teams that we're trying to operate in the school? I know each one of them is...
Well, we're doing that at the elementary level. How many levels do we have? And I guess you could apply the same. You can apply the same standard here. What it becomes, do you? Quite frankly, many schools have varsity teams and no JVs, or some JVs depending on the sport. Depends on student enrollment. So we've been fortunate. We've got a lot of kids that are involved, and to the point where we even have freshman teams. So some would see that as a luxury. Some would see it, as you do, with the freshman programs, with a no-cut policy for freshmen, so kids are involved. Then that's a pretty important piece of their freshman year.
Can we have Jim create the number of participants?
Sure.
For each of these activities?
Yep.
Somebody's going to ask the question, and I'd like to have an answer for them. We've done it in the past, and
We'll have that. That comes out, and we'll get it a little earlier to you, but that Janice puts the fact book together, and you get a lot of that data.
Yeah.
But we can get you that piece alone for your next meeting.
Okay, good, thanks.
Mhm.
Yes, Barbara?
Question on line 300, yearbook assistant. Can you explain that?
The yearbook job is cut in two. Isn't that right, Janice? Is there two? Yeah.
Jay has the majority.
Right.
But Annie is a big piece of the.
Right.
So
There's
that's the other
two faculty members work on the yearbook.
And we're giving the yearbook away? We don't charge the students for the yearbook?
No, it's $50.
Yeah, it'd be $50.
$50? Times $210,000. And
The line 304. The
Yeah.
Tech director, fall theatrical, what's that?
Right. That's for who's ever directing the theater. That'd be
Okay.
AJ this year, that's the stipend.
I
for
see,
doing it.
okay,
Yep.
all right.
And that is not
that's
all-
different than the musical up top on 292? Line 292, it says musical and theater director
Yes,
there?
yep.
Okay.
Remember, I'm sorry, that's not AJ, that's Doug
Mr.
Ross.
Oh,
That's
Mr. Ross.
new on the,
In the contract.
in the contract.
Oh, I see, okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. AJ's up above,
Yeah.
and that's Mr. Ross, who works behind the scenes and with all the tech.
Okay.
Just do the change in line 327, youth and government. 2,000 to the 10,000.
Yeah.
Janice, do you know that one? You can circle that.
Is that another trip or something?
327.
We'll look into that.
We'll look into
Yeah, I don't,
Okay, thank you. Page 8. Save some money in the theater equipment. And we spent it,
I think we might need some explanation again about the discrepancy between the football and the other sports. Overall, the salaries. I know there are more coaches.
there are 4 paid coaches under the collective bargaining agreement. Most of them have an awful lot of seniority.
And that's tied into collective bargaining,
Yes,
so there's not a
yeah,
whole lot. Okay,
yeah.
all right.
anything else under supplies,
Yeah.
new equipment,
Yep.
dues? Yes,
The boys lacrosse, almost 5,000 there, so that's line 434.
434. Have you jump pages on me here?
Oh, sorry, I thought that was under supplies.
Okay. no.
Oh, different supplies, okay, athletics.
Okay, so down to salaries under football, which has remained relatively constant over the years.
Mhm.
But it's a lot of money, no question about it.
I have a question. Do we split the hockey coach salary with
Yes.
Pearson?
Yep.
So is that
So the
our share of it, or
8,000
is that
is-
the whole salary, do you know, man?
My gut tells me that's the whole.
That's the whole, and
salary.
we may get a revenue in return.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it
Yeah.
might require another
Yeah.
revenue.
Yeah, he's on our payroll, so he would get his check from here, and then that looks like for 2 coaches, that amount of money. So,
Your JV coaches would be in
yes,
there.
yeah, they both would be in there, yeah.
And then we
And
get.
we would get a reimbursement from Kearsarge, or if they had expenses in some other area that equaled that, we may just say, we're all set.
On 373, trainer, that's for 3 seasons, isn't
Yes, yeah.
Where is it?
373.
It's a stipend for the trainer all 3 seasons.
And the gal that's with him lots of times, are those?
Those are free
students or-
student interns
Student interns.
from Plymouth State, yeah. You'll see a different one in each season. They rotate. But we try, for the most part, to try and get women to, so that we have a 50-50 gender split.
Any questions on page 9? It's a continuation of co-curricular, it's in repairs and maintenance.
378.
What about the increase on the freshman program?
I answer one at a time here. 378,
370.
Yeah, which is the same freshman program change. From 7,500 2 years ago to 17.
that would be staffing all the programs. We'll take a look at that, given your other questions.
Anything else on this page? Okay, now we're into supplies, was it? 434, whatever the number was.
Yeah, 434.
The boys lacrosse getting new uniforms.
And this would be supplies. I'll get the answer to that. That's got a piece, that has to be equipment. That wouldn't be uniforms. 'Cause-
Uniforms or equipment?
No, uniform, in this budget process, it would be under replacement of equipment
Right.
for uniforms.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is supplies. So this may be, I don't know what that is. It's a good question, and we'll get it for you.
And 429, so the trainer, is that a,
Those are the general supplies for the training room.
gotcha, supplies, I keep forgetting them in
Right.
that budget.
And 449 for football?
Yeah.
Oh, that's the uniform cycle. Football team is up for new uniforms in the next cycle. So I think their cycle is 7 or 8 years with the same shirts. Remember, that's home and away. So there are 2 sets, and I think we get probably around 80 shirts for
I wonder
each.
if overall we can look at that philosophically too for all the sports. Can we squeeze another year out of all of the uniforms and change that schedule a little bit?
Well, originally it was a 5-year cycle, and now it's at 7 or 8.
Okay.
So we.
I know, they get
yeah.
mangy, I know.
And it becomes a problem next year. You're
Well-
deferring
Yeah.
Right, but you're getting more years out of
Well,
out of
what we've done, quite frankly, is cleared the deck so that football is by itself.
Okay.
So
yeah,
when you
that
take
makes sense.
any random year, Maureen, if you're doing all the sports that we're doing,
Yeah.
the bill is usually around 18 or 19,000.
Yeah.
So
That
that's
sounds-
how we sort of do it.
Sounds good.
Yes, Barbara?
That cycle page that we used to have,
Yes.
is that not factable?
No, but we can put it in there if you want it. It's just a rotation schedule. It just has a year, and it'll say the sport, and then works its way down. Yeah. And we bounce with that at times. So we'll say, if we've caught a break, and we know what's coming the next year, we may take care of something, so it doesn't appear in your next year's budget. So,
We must have done baseball and softball last year.
we did.
Okay.
Yeah. I appreciate that you kept just the football there this year then.
Well, that's the easiest one to leave there, Maureen, because
Yeah.
that's like a lightning rod. So I'd rather not do that off to the side and say, how did they get new uniforms?
Yeah.
Just might as well just do it right up front, and here it is.
Is dues NHIAA?
Yes.
Okay, all set on that page, folks? Okay. Summer school, family not running any summer school?
No, we do. We pay for it out of a federal grant. Comes out of Title I.
Okay. Advertising, guidance. Pretty flat, looks like. Testing. Now, you've been running 8, only spent 63.74 this year?
Yes, we moved to the SATs, as you remember. The state had been paying for its tests. And then the state said, the SATs are fine with us.
So now, are we paying all SATs when we weren't before, or?
There was a subsidy from the state, we were paying for some, but now here we are.
What did you say about this getting out of the education? Guidance secretaries, is that 1 or 2, or?
That's one.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
See you, Ben.
Thanks, Ben.
Thank you.
Budget. Yes. Where is it?
Page 12.
Here it is.
This is our contract with the
You too.
Spear Hospital.
Yes.
We're still convinced this is a cheaper way to go?
Yes.
Okay. Less expensive, sorry.
Well, above and beyond just the nursing services, we get all the services of a hospital, but the most important thing, quite frankly, is if the nurse is out, the hospital finds the sub. Think of, I call in at 5 in the morning, say I won't be there. You need to find a, certified nurse. Yeah, they're just not out there. So that in and of itself, from a risk management standpoint, pays for itself.
On the psychological services, Mark, we had gotten it down to $119,000 in 2016-17.
Right,
And now it's up 13, my math is right here,
Right.
$14,000.
right.
What is
That's a
that?
change in the market. As you know, we had Dr. Phil had retired, and so you're looking at that 160 number in there for, it's Mike Currier and a school psychologist in that line. So it's the school social worker and the school psychologist. And then we have a less experienced school psychologist, which is taking that number down 28,000 below what it was at that other place.
Okay.
Ross, may I ask?
Yeah,
Line 547, that's a significant drop. What is that? It's a good, but what's it contribute to?
The rotation of testing, I mean, I'm going to circle that, but I know that we have peaks and valleys in that area. So, but we'll take a good look at it.
it was 1650 2 years ago.
Yeah, we'll take a good look at it.
Okay. Speech therapy, not much change, down just slightly. Physical therapy, down. Occupational therapy, not flat. Any questions, people? Just, we're hiring that out, Mark?
Yes.
Okay, good. Support services, instructional staff, pretty flat. Educational media services, aha! Had a significant increase in that line.
Right, that's Kylie Cap is a .4 here in Ed Media Services, and that's been a service that we think really pays itself off. She works with Amelia, your librarian, also with the faculty, and she is the support person for a lot of the online curriculums and things that we're doing, both for faculty members and for students.
But we're not paying her $161,000.
No, that's, I think, about, I forgot my stat, it's probably about 2.4 people in that line.
But we've added a person?
We've got a .4.
Okay.
Yeah. The other .4 is in Campton, and the other .2 is in Waterville Valley.
So I want to have an explanation for that one. Audiovisual, flat. Any questions on 13? 14, library. Staff. School board is down. What did you take away from this?
E&O insurance is covered under your property and liability.
Okay. The contingency fund, it will be a separate warrant article. That's why it's $1,000 under the adopted budget. It wasn't really the adopted budget, but it was with the passing of the warrant article. So it has to be taken out again, and if we get $1,000, we'll put it back in. School board secretary. That's fine. Treasurer. Flat. Election is flat. Audit is a little less. SAU office.
Mhm.
We're up 6,000 now.
Mhm.
Technology, that's flat. Career Tech, it's flat. Applied Tech, it's flat. Any questions on 15? 16, Principal's Office. Flat.
In that salary line, does that include Mr. Price?
No, it is Mr. Parsons and .6 of the athletic director.
Where does Bob's salary show?
In guidance. He's director of guidance.
Okay.
Secretarial, has there been some change there?
Yes, there's John's position, the assistant for John, has been
Oh.
added in that area, and then I'll apply a revenue to the next revenue sheet that comes up that balances that out.
So John's secretary.
And that revenue will be coming from the building project.
Okay. Financial accounting, accountant,
Those are the fees on Medicaid and things like that. They go and get our Medicaid.
custodial. That's about $50,000. Something, no, it's down, sorry, it's down.
Down.
Yeah,
Yep.
down 50,000. Good job.
Well, electricity is down $25,000. Natural gas is down.
Great. Our contract with the town of Plymouth and the Plymouth Elementary School, is that a share of it?
On upkeep, yes, yeah,
Care and upkeep of ground?
yeah.
That's up 25,000. Have you got the new tractor in there?
The new tractor's there on line 790.
New tractor, share.
And the rest is difference in wages and benefits with the park and rec.
We don't control those wages, do we?
No, we just pay the bill.
Bus. Up in special ed, but relatively flat with the regular ed.
Yes, a few more years of that.
We're gonna
We
start
have-
our own bus company.
We have our, we do
Yeah,
have
under
a
the
couple
next
more years.
administration.
Okay.
We do have a couple more years on the current contract.
Yes. No.
Ross, line 804, Mark, for the field trips.
Yes.
What's that, so that's a 10,000 increase from 2016?
That's a real accounting, Maureen. If you look at our actual expenses,
Oh, look at that, okay.
yeah. So that is, the departments, other than music and Vogue, culinary arts, those are the departments that really are on field trips.
But
That money, most of that money comes back to us and goes into the van account. So when we need a new van, the property taxpayers aren't paying for a new van. It comes from the user fees from people that use it. So it rotates. So when we go to buy a new van, you'll find $1 in an account, and we get the van, and it comes out of that enterprise fund based on a vote of the board saying, yeah, go buy the van.
Is this some more of our teams that we send to these tournaments to, Mark, would they be in here?
Yes, yep,
Okay.
yep.
We were sending half a dozen teams last year, it seemed like. They were all winning, but
Do we pay for
We were
those
sending
trips,
them.
or do the parents pay for those trips?
On what?
Well, so, math team and TSA and those teams.
It's a split. We may drive them to the airport, and then they,
Pay for teachers'
give
room,
them,
that kind of thing?
yeah.
Okay.
It's a split.
Can we look at that area?
Sure. I mean, they're individually approved. I mean, the money's put in a budget, a line item that you decide, And then based on the resources, we make a decision on what goes and what doesn't go under an equitable look at things.
But if we know we have a lower pool to draw from, we'd probably make different decisions.
Lower pool of money.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we would need, honestly, we'd need some guidance on what don't you want to do.
Right. No, I understand that, yeah.
Okay, all right.
But I mean,
Yeah,
And I
you-
don't think
if
it's
we leave
fair.
everything as is,
No, I understand.
we're gonna be in a problem.
But I don't, yeah, it isn't fair to let them run a team and then say at the end, you can't go to the tournament.
Yeah.
Or you've got to raise $8,000 yourself to go to a tournament. So, but yeah, we can look at it, because it's for.
Yeah, we're a factor of the resources available, to be honest with you.
The transportation of kiddos, I know at one point we talked about running the marketing or something during this building project to maybe Holderness.
Right, yep.
Is that included? Would that?
No, that's in this fiscal year. That's happening, that's what will be happening now. They'll be back here.
In the spring, they'll be
Yeah,
back
yeah.
here. Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
That's going to be the spring of this year.
yes. At whatever point, it's getting later and later. So I don't know whatever that number will be. Yeah,
Right.
Can I just go back,
that's an 11-mile round trip.
go back,
We did the numbers.
field trip? I wasn't thinking about taking away from the math team of that, but we said earlier, I think Ben reported that we're going to the Museum of Science or something
Right.
like that.
Right.
Like, that would be my focus, not to take away.
Okay.
Well, okay, but I think that's a more difficult question. Why we would do away with a field trip to the Museum of Science and pay for a field trip to have them compete against 4 other kids from Merrimack Valley in Nashua somewhere.
I guess I'd use your logic of saying, if we're committed to the team, aren't we?
But we haven't committed to the team yet, because this is next year's budget,
I understand that.
okay?
I don't imagine we're not gonna have the Quiz Bowl team, or we're not gonna have some of the other teams that we have.
Honestly, I will find it difficult to
Yeah.
follow that, but anyway. So we're on to, if there's nothing else on page 17, we're on to page 18. Construction. All right, remind me what this is.
Last year, that was the last year warrant article for the
Okay.
building.
Not the proposed budget, gotcha. The debt service is a payment on the,
The lighting systems, the heat and lighting systems, and then the interest is the heating, lighting systems plus $75,000, which is our estimate of what the interest bill will be for the new project from next July through the following June of 19. And that number shrinking daily because we're pushing the project back, so.
Mark, how can we put a 0 in the special ed loan principal for the proposed budget?
Because it has to be on a warrant article?
Okay?
Yeah, and the revenue's taken out also on the
I know, I
revenue
knew
side.
that was, but
Yeah.
if we weren't gonna have the revenue, I thought we should at least have $1 in there to be able to expend money in that line item, but maybe we don't for that.
No, because if they turn the warrant article down, we can't do a thing. That's why the 0 is there.
Ooh, nasty. Okay.
When-
Is this the last year on the heating and lighting?
No, it goes out for quite a few years. Yeah.
Okay, health insurance. So this is throughout the budget.
Yes,
Lump sum here, $1,874,875 almost. And the dental insurance is about $61,000. That's collective bargaining. And doesn't include anything in the, what does it include, the car money for the support staff.
yes.
Includes the current money?
Everybody's in it.
All right. So we could have, yeah, all right.
That would be netted out in the warrant article.
Yeah. Total funds, 14,555,714. Plus this grant funds of 19,000 and minus grant funds. No. Plus grant funds plus food service funds for a total of 14,892,245. Everyone all right on that? I mean, are you all right with the number, but are you all right? We did the highlights, yeah, okay. And then, so that finishes up the appropriation side. Anyone want to discuss the revenue side, or we want to wait till Mark adds some numbers to that to reflect other items?
Let's wait so we have it.
Okay.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind.
All right. So that's the first go-through. Mark is going to bring us back some numbers and explanations on numbers at our next meeting, which is now scheduled for, we don't have it yet.
December 5th?
December 5th?
Yep.
That's our regular
All right.
meeting, but you're not anticipating any other items of significance that we need to discuss?
No, I mean, you got it. What we'll do is we'll look at any pieces of faculty that we can get. The specific line items, you'll have explanations for. I'm waiting on a special ed decision on, from another district that sends a student here, which could be a significant revenue in this budget without increasing the overhead. So there's still adjustments to be made in our favor.
What percent are we up at this point before any more over last year? Do you have that?
Yes, well, the appropriate, yeah, it's on the green sheet, Peter. The appropriation
3.81?
is 3.81. That's what we can control. On the revenue side, we're down to 590. So overall, you'd be looking at 8.695%, and that's worst case before we make adjustments and everything else. On the revenue side, we'd be looking at better look at tuition, and I look at Medicaid, and then Mr. Deachman talked about your retained fund balance. That could be a conversation, but that would be toward the end when you want to get to a final number.
And you're suggesting a unreserved fund balance of 120,000, which is that right?
Yes, that is from, quite frankly, all of it is from, we had a good year in tuition billing. And so I think our number was 400,000 the previous year. And we billed about 520. So that 120 represents tuition bills, not think about maybe they'll come, the really bills that went out in the mail.
Any other questions on the budget, either appropriations or revenue? If not, we'll take it up on the 5th then. Thank you, Matt.
Thanks, Russ.
Any other business?
No, Madam Chair.
Board member concerns? I guess we need a motion to go into non-public for personnel,
So moved.
collective bargaining issues, contract issues.
Second.